Peace of Mind. Yes, this album right here is my first Iron Maiden album, and out of all the CDs in my collection here, it's pretty big. Put this back. This is my first CD, period. I got this as a 15th birthday present, like a long time ago, like in 2008, I think. So I was born in 1993, about 10 years after this album came out. And since this is the 1998 remastered edition, it also came with this little coupon right here for Rock in Rio, which would come out like a couple of years later. So yeah, this is really cool. And I almost forgot to mention that I reviewed this on my old channel, Colby Stearns, so if you want to see me completely fuck up in every single way imaginable, then definitely check that out. I'll send it as like a link in the description box, or maybe a video response, or whatever. It's still up. I can even upload it onto this channel if you guys want. Yeah, if you want to see someone completely fuck up, then definitely check that shit out. This was way before I honed enough skills to sound at least remotely decent on camera, so yeah, check it out. It's really entertaining stuff. I'll definitely send a link for you guys. But anyway, let's talk about the album. So as you can see, I've had a very long personal history with this particular album, and it really has a lot of sentimental charm with me. Although it's not my favorite Iron Maiden album, the previous one is, Number of the Beast, this one has the most sentimental value that I have to agree with. This is a really cool album cover. I mean, the first one I've ever seen was for Number of the Beast, and of course this is the second album cover I've seen by the band, and it's really cool looking. I like how, I feel kind of bad for Eddie though. I mean, he just got lobotomized. He doesn't have his hair anymore, so that's kind of sad for him. It's like they just took a piece of mind out of him, and now he's all like strangled up and shit. And this is a cool little band photo right there. I like that, from the World Peace Tour. But yeah, I really like the artwork here. Derek Riggs is he's a genius when it comes to making album covers. So this album here represents a big turning point for the band. This is where the classic five-piece lineup is really complete. It's whole for the rest of the 1980s. Nika McBrain, this guy in the black right here between Dave and Bruce, he replaces Clive Burr on drums, and his style is a bit more technical than Clive Burr's, but you know, I've always preferred Clive Burr. I've always kind of preferred him a bit more, but Nika McBrain, I'm not knocking him at all. His style's fantastic, and he really suits the album perfectly, so nothing to complain on Nico's behalf. Nico's great. And Nika McBrain, like, literally leaves his first impression within the first couple of seconds of the first song on his debut, which is Where Eagles Dare, with his drum intro, which really kicks ass. He really leaves an impression on you. He definitely left an impression on me, because Where Eagles Dare is the first song that I've heard on an actual album. The first song I've ever heard by Iron Maiden, period, is Number of the Beast, like I said in my previous review, but the first song that I've heard on an album of theirs is Where Eagles Dare, because Peace of Mind is my first Iron Maiden album, period. And Where Eagles Dare is not the only impressive song on this album. Flight of Icarus is one of the very first songs by Iron Maiden that I've ever fallen in love with. I don't love it quite as much now as I did when I first got the album, but it's still a great song. It was one of the first songs that, I think it was the first song that I fell in love with on an album release, next to Where Eagles Dare. But yeah, Flight of Icarus is great. Revelations, I didn't love it at first, but it's probably my favorite song on the album now. I love the lyrics. They're just amazing, spellbinding. It's almost like he's quoting from the Bible or something like that. I know he quoted a passage from like this English poet, O God of earth and altar, bow down, hear our cry, our earthly rulers falter, our people drift and die, take not thy thunder from us, but take away our pride. I was just kind of going off the top of my head. I was almost about to read the lyric sheet for a second, but yeah, I love the lyrics. I love the opening passage. I love the acoustic guitar. That was one of the very first things that caught my attention about this song. The acoustic guitar passage is just beautiful. I love it. Die With Your Boots On is also great. The Trooper, believe it or not, when I first listened to this album, it didn't really like click the same way it did for like the millions of other Iron Maiden fans. Of course, I know it's a standout on this release now, but when I first listened to the album, I thought it kind of just blended into the background a bit. But that's kind of one of my nitpicks about this album. The production sounds a bit more dry and sterile in comparison to Number of the Beast and Power Slave and all that. I mean, the production's still very good. You can hear everything like perfectly, but I don't know, it's got like a more of a samey, dry, sterile sort of feel to it, the production on this album. And it makes some of the songs kind of feel the same. Like Sun and Steel, it feels like a retread of The Trooper to me. Still got that same sort of gallopy like feel to it. And yeah, it just reminds me of like a retread of The Trooper, like the sound. And I don't know, I think the production definitely contributes to that. I think one of my major complaints is that the production just makes the songs sound a bit more samey overall, and that's kind of what made my opinion on this album really vary. Like, at first I would love it, then I would think meh, then I would love it again, then okay, and then, well, now I love it, of course, but I don't know, I've always been kind of, my opinions would always range high and low, left and right. I never really knew what to feel about this album, like, throughout my history of listening to this, and I think the production was definitely a major cause of that. But anyway, I'm rambling here. Yeah, Revelations is great, The Trooper's great, Flight of Icarus, Revelations, did I say Revelations? Where Eagles Dare. But yeah, all the songs are great, and even Quest for Fire, which a lot of people like didn't really like, and at first I didn't really like it because other people said, oh no, it's a stupid song. I mean, yeah, the lyrics are a bit silly, but hey, come on, let the guys have some fun every once in a while. And the music itself is awesome. It sort of reminds me of Transylvania. It's got that Transylvania feel to it. And I think it's a really fun song, and I really love the last note that Bruce Dickinson gives at the end. To celebrate a man. I can't do it because I'm not Bruce Dickinson, but listen to the last note that Bruce Dickinson sings. It sends me shivers every time I listen to it nowadays. Still Life is also considered to be a pretty underrated track by myself, especially when I first heard it. I thought it would be very underrated, but now, like over the years, I've been noticing there's been quite a crowd for that one song, Still Life. And I wonder if it influenced Opeth's album at all, like the title of this one little song for Opeth's album. I'm not sure, but I know Opeth has probably been somewhat influenced by Iron Maiden, so that's kind of an interesting comparison to draw. But yeah, it's a really good song. To Tame a Land, that's like one of the that's like the first epic that I've heard from Iron Maiden, next to Hallowed Be Thy Name, I believe. Like, you know, like the traditional Iron Maiden epic. Yeah, I really like the lyrics to the song. It's probably one of my least favorite epics after hearing stuff like Seventh Son of the Seventh Son, Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, Hallowed Be Thy Name. In comparison to those songs, I think it's not as good, but I still really like it. It's a great closer to this album. But yeah, all the songs are great. The Sun and Steel song, it's you know, it kind of feels a bit like a retread of The Trooper, but I still like it. I still think it's a good song. But yeah, I think this is overall like one of their most consistent albums of the 1980s. I definitely wouldn't rank it as like my top favorite, but I think like owing to the long history I've had with this album and its sentimental charm and just all these kick-ass songs, this would still be in the top 5. I would have to give it about an 8.5 out of 10. It's a very consistent album from front to back, and it's just very solid stuff, and some of their best songs, again, Revelations, To Tamerland, Where Eagles Dare, Flight of Icarus, just so many great songs that they don't really bother to play live all that much, except for The Trooper, Doi. But yeah, really great album. Definitely one of my top favorites. I've had a long history with this album. Despite the production's somewhat sterile, dry feel, it's still very good. Like, every instrument shines very nicely. The musicianship is great as always. It's Iron Maiden, obviously. So, I think that's as much as I have to say, really, about this album. Really, really solid, strong album. And yeah, thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for Power Slave.